Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And November 26, 2001 marks 23 years ago that history was made when The Undertaker shocked the entire world when he attacked Jim Ross and forced him to kiss the behind of Vince McMahon, thus giving birth to the Red Devil slash Big Evil persona. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of The Undertaker's Red Devil slash Big Evil run from November 2001 to November 2003. So, as everyone knows, The Undertaker debuted the biker gimmick at Judgment Day in May 2000. And for most of the first year of the biker, in my opinion, wasn't the Undertaker's best work. He was very slow in the ring, out of shape. He didn't really do anything memorable. I mean, don't get me wrong, Undertaker by that point had been in the company for well over a decade. He was fully established as a true legend. Everybody loved and respected him, but you just kind of felt like The Undertaker was just coasting along. He wasn't doing anything big or anything memorable. I mean, in 2001, he did have an excellent match against Triple H at WrestleMania 17. He did go on to win the tag team titles twice with Kane. But aside from that, he wasn't really doing anything you would say that was legendary. And when the invasion started, you had Rock, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, and even Chris Jericho. They were right there in the thick of things during the whole invasion angle. Even Kane was having a great year in 2001. He was on fire, no pun intended. And he was a big part of the invasion thing. Undertaker was as well, but at the same time, I kind of feel like during that time he was just more in the background and he wasn't really, how shall I put it, he didn't really have a big part in the invasion angle compared to Angle, Austin, and Rock. And as I said, even Chris Jericho, he had quite a big part in the invasion angle. I mean, Undertaker was still treated like a top guy, but I just feel that he wasn't treated quite the same as the others. And throughout that time, you could see Undertaker was getting more annoyed, he was getting more frustrated, he was snapping at Vince, saying, "Oh, I've been here for nearly 11 years. I've been loyal to you. I've always had your back, you know, and you're running to Stone Cold. What about me, Vince?" And, that's something that's very out of character for The Undertaker. He very rarely ever complains about anything. Undertaker has always been known as a quiet guy, does his own thing, and pretty much stays out of things. You never really see Undertaker demand anything. Even when there were times that he should have been moaning, like for example, getting screwed out of the title. You'd never ever hear The Undertaker complain. He would just move on and do something completely different. This was an Undertaker, from what I was seeing, this was an Undertaker that was getting fed up of being overlooked, fed up of being treated like an afterthought, and most importantly of all, this was an Undertaker that felt that he wasn't getting any respect. So it was obvious. I mean, when you look back now, obviously when you're younger, you're a wrestling fan, you just look at it like, oh, Undertaker's just pissed. What do you expect? But when you look back, it was very clear that the seeds were quietly planted for something big to happen. Now, I didn't think at the time, oh, Undertaker's going to turn heel. I would never have thought that. I would never have thought that Undertaker would turn heel. The guy that I always thought would turn heel was The Rock because he was showing a lot of heel tendencies during his feud against Chris Jericho and some of the remarks he made. I thought, okay, it's going to be The Rock. He'll turn heel. I never ever thought it would be The Undertaker. And the shift would occur on SmackDown on the November 22nd, 2001 edition during a match between The Undertaker and Kurt Angle. We would see Vince come out with a chair, and it looked like he was going to hit The Undertaker. Undertaker quickly took the chair of Vince, and we all thought, okay, Undertaker's going to take Vince's head off. You can see it coming because we know that there's no love lost between Undertaker and Vince going all the way back to the corporate ministry days. And Undertaker put the chair down, quietly walked up to Vince, and very coldly said to him, "All I want is respect," and just left. Vince looked very confused. Angle looked very confused. We were all confused. What does that mean? What does The Undertaker mean? All I want is respect. And Vince had that devilish smile as if he knew something that we didn't know. And everybody was confused, and Undertaker just quietly drove off on his motorbike. So it was clear something was going to happen. And then on the November 26th, 2001 edition of Roy's War, we would finally get an answer to what The Undertaker was alluding to. Undertaker and Vince had some words backstage, and Undertaker pretty much said that I've been here for nearly 11 years, the exact same thing that we've been hearing for all of 2001. I've been here for 11 years. I've always had your back, and I've had absolutely nothing from you. And Vince would say, now hang on a minute, dead man. You've been here for 11 years. I'll admit it. I took you for granted. But in a roundabout way, dead man, you and I are a lot more alike. Now you think about that. You know, for all those years, I never had to look behind my back to know you were there. That is the ultimate respect. You think about that. And then left it there, and Undertaker stood there almost as if a light bulb went off in his head. So then, after Stone Cold whipped Vince with his leather belt after he tried to get him to join the Kiss My Ass Club, JR was laughing his head off. He thought it was hilarious. Angle would attack JR. Vince very maliciously would say to JR, "This is what's going to happen, JR. In your hometown of Oklahoma, you're not going to kiss my ass. These people are going to be kissing my ass through you." And then he would drop his trousers down. Oh my God. And then The Undertaker came out to a massive pop, and it looked like Undertaker was there to save the day. I thought, okay, here we go. Undertaker, after all these months of putting up with Vince's crap, he's going to absolutely lose it. He's going to destroy Vince. He's going to destroy Angle. All is right with the world. Undertaker grabbed the mic and said, "I've been here a long damn time. And just when I thought I'd seen everything, this really takes the cake. So let me get this straight. You want this man to kiss your ass," and looks at Angle and says, "And you're going to make him do it?" And Undertaker would then go into this long rant and tirade about being here for 11 years and how he was the one who kissed Vince's ass the most. And then he would proceed to name every single legend who kissed the ass of Vince McMahon. I said, "I've seen a lot of people come and I've seen a lot of people go. Hulk Hogan Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Shawn Michaels. Found it very interesting the way he longed it out with Shawn Michaels, which got a really good pop. And he would go on to say, somewhere along the way, those guys, they kissed your ass the most. But you want to know the saddest thing is? The guy who kissed your ass the most was me. So, JR, before I take care of business, I just want to know one thing. Were you going to kiss Vince's ass? And JR, of course, said, hell no. And Undertaker would then ask him again, do you want to kiss his ass? And JR very defiantly says, hell no. And then the moments came. Undertaker coldly turned round and said, is that because you're better than me? And then punched him in the face and screamed at him and said, are you better than me? Whether you like it or not, you are going to kiss his ass. And that was it. Undertaker had officially turned heel. Now, in terms of the way this heel turn was executed, I loved the promo where he talked about all of the guys who had kissed Vince's ass and, saying about he'd been here the longest and putting up with Vince's crap. Brilliant stuff, but Undertaker saying that he was the one who kissed Vince's ass the most didn't really sit well with me. Undertaker's not really known for, being a guy like that. He should have just kept it at, I've been here the longest, I've been the most loyal, you haven't shown me any respect, and I'm sick and tired of it. I've never had to kiss your ass to be where I am. I worked hard, I stuck by you through the thick and the thin. That would have been fine, but for the Undertaker to say, I kissed Vince's ass the most, just didn't sit well with me. But Undertaker, now a heel, this was different. This was new because Undertaker had not been a heel since '99, and the last time he actually turned heel was back in '98, and he was the Dead Man when he reunited with Paul Bearer and they started up the whole Ministry of Darkness, which led into the corporate ministry. Yeah, that doesn't sit well with me, but hey ho, you can check out my video on my thoughts about the corporate ministry. But this was something new. Undertaker had already been the biker for well over a year and was now a heel. And I thought, okay, this could be interesting because this changes things. As I said earlier, Undertaker wasn't really doing anything big. He wasn't really doing anything special. He didn't really stand out. But now that he was a heel, he really stood out. So a few days later on SmackDown, he came out and surprisingly he got massive boos, so which is understandable because he just attacked JR. He destroyed Taz and he later on destroyed Rob Van Dam. So I thought, okay, they're really making a point of making Undertaker a monster heel. I'm kind of glad in a way that when he turned heel, he didn't go straight back to the Dead Man because I don't think that would have made any sense because Undertaker wasn't buried alive or he wasn't set on fire or anything. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go down that path. Unlike Undertaker's heel run of 98 to 99, which was very rooted in the dark side and all of the theatrical supernatural stuff, this heel in the biker persona, I think worked very well because this wasn't a guy rooted in dark magic or on the dark side. This was a guy that you didn't want to mess with. This was a guy who could absolutely destroy you and enjoy doing it. And Undertaker would completely change his look. He would cut off his long trademark hair and he would end up with really, really short hair, dyed it jet black. He lost massive, excessive weight, which he had been lugging around for the past couple of years, which goes all the way back to the late part of the corporate ministry days and into the Unholy Alliance run with the Big Show. Undertaker, as a character, looked like a completely brand new person for the better. And it's kind of strange, really, because when he turned heel, it was almost like a breath of fresh air. You know, cutting off his hair was a bit extreme, but hey, if you're going to be a heel, you got to make it different. You've got to make it work. You've really got to get people noticing you. And he was like a completely different person. He got better in the ring. His matches were enjoyable to watch. Everything about heel Undertaker was amazing. It really was. And he would destroy Bradshaw after him and the APA had words about this new persona. He would win the hardcore title from Rob Van Dam at Vengeance 2001, which really surprised me because Undertaker was always known for chasing after the world title and sometimes the tag team titles when he was teaming up with Kane. But to actually see him win the hardcore title, I thought, okay, this is new. Not just different, but new. And Undertaker brought a lot of legitimacy to the hardcore title. I mean, the hardcore title was really for a guy like Crash Holly, the whole 24/7 ruling. And it was treated as more of a novelty. Anybody could win the hardcore title. I mean, who can forget, hardcore title was defeated in fun fairs or coffee bars or snooker bars or the mall or in the bathroom. It got quite silly in the Attitude Era with the hardcore title, but when Undertaker won it, it was treated like a serious title. It meant something. And I think the last guy for me who made the hardcore title mean something was probably Steve Blackman. I can't really think of many other guys who made the hardcore title mean something. Probably Shane McMahon as well. He's another guy. He made the hardcore title mean something. Rob Van Dam definitely made the hardcore title his own because being from ECW, the land of the extreme, all the hardcore weapons and stuff, Rob Van Dam made it mean something. So I probably would say those guys that I mentioned, Steve Blackman, Shane McMahon, and definitely Rob Van Dam, they made the hardcore title mean something. But when Undertaker won it, it felt like a big deal. And I think when he won the hardcore title, I think it just further cemented his heel status. And anytime someone would step into the ring to fight the Undertaker for the hardcore title, it was like, wow, I have really got to work extra hard to beat this guy because he was just unstoppable. And it was a short run. He did lose it to Maven eventually, but in the time that he was the hardcore champion, he really kicked a lot of ass. He really did. And as we headed into 2002, although he wasn't officially dubbed as Red Devil slash Big Evil, that run to me was already well underway, even though it wasn't dubbed that until a little bit after. And as we headed into 2002, he took out both Matt and Jeff Hardy and Lita. And this was interesting because Undertaker never really got involved with the Divas that much. You would never really see him putting his hand on a Diva. Whereas Kane, he would deliver the tombstone to Tori on multiple occasions during his feud against X-Pac. Undertaker very rarely ever got involved with Divas. So for him to, manhandle Lita really puts him over even more as a hated heel. Yes, people still cheered him, but he was still getting a lot of nuclear heat. Maybe not to Dominic Mysterio level that we would experience now, but he was still very hated. But he was feared, but in a different way. The Dead Man was feared because he was this big, evil monster from the dark side. The Red Devil slash Big Evil gimmick, this was a guy you were scared of and someone you didn't want to get on the wrong side of. So he was kind of like that biker you'd see in the bar. Okay, I don't want to mess with that guy because that guy is going to kill me. That was kind of what Undertaker as a heel was in this persona, in my opinion. Undertaker would then begin a mini feud with Maven after he was eliminated by him during the 2002 30-man Royal Rumble match, which really surprised me because I didn't expect to see such a big moment like that. And this also sparked off a feud against The Rock, which led to a match at No Way Out 2002. Now, the feud that Undertaker had against The Rock, I love The Rock and I love The Undertaker, but I personally feel that the two of them together, I don't think had great chemistry as opponents. I mean, the match that they had at No Way Out 2002 was probably one of their better matches from their history because I feel that with their chemistry, it just felt very clumsy. And I feel that Rock and Undertaker worked better against other opponents. That's just my opinion. And a lot of the matches they had in '99 were not that great. 2000, a lot of their matches were probably even worse. The couple that they had in '98 were pretty enjoyable, and even the earliest one they had in '97 I thought was pretty good, but I just don't think they had great chemistry. I mean, promo wise, they were great on the mic, but in the ring, maybe not so much. But I thought their 2002 match was probably the best one they had out of all the matches that they had in their careers. But I thought the one they had was probably the best one, the best of the worst, if that is such a thing. So after Undertaker was done with The Rock, he would begin a very violent and personal feud against Ric Flair. Now, Undertaker and Ric Flair have a very interesting history because during Flair's first run back in '91 to '93, Undertaker and Flair did cross paths a couple of times. They were more teammates than opponents. I believe they had one match on WWF Superstars, and I think both of them were working as a heel at the time. But Undertaker and Ric Flair had never had a match on pay per view, mainly because, well, Ric Flair was in WCW for most of it, and Undertaker was pretty much climbing up the ranks and establishing himself as one of the true legends in the company. So when Flair came back in November 2001, the night after Survivor Series, Flair very rarely ever wrestled. He was more as an on screen owner, clashing with Vince over control of the WWF. And he very rarely ever mixed it up in the ring. He had one match, and that was against Vince McMahon at the Royal Rumble 2002 pay per view, which was very good, by the way. A lot better than I expected. But that was more of a one off. That didn't really spark off Flair coming back to the ring and having matches every week. His matches that he had in 2002 were few and far. But any time he did step into the ring, it was a big deal. So Flair cost The Undertaker his match against The Rock at No Way Out 2002. And then the next night, Undertaker barged into his office and, in a very rare moment, Undertaker challenged someone to face him at WrestleMania. Now, traditionally, in Undertaker's career, everyone would challenge The Undertaker for a match, whether it was at WrestleMania or on TV, anywhere, you very rarely ever saw The Undertaker call out someone and ask them to fight him. Very rare. But when he asked Flair, I thought, okay, this is different. Undertaker actually challenging someone. It's usually always the other way around. So this was another side that we got to see of The Undertaker during his whole Red Devil slash Big Evil run. Undertaker would call out people because he's supposed to be a heel. I would have thought it would make more sense if Flair called out Undertaker and challenged him to a match. But for Undertaker to actually call out someone for a match is quite rare. So that was kind of a different layer to him as a heel, because most heels, they're a coward. They make excuses. Oh, I'm not tonight. I'm not ready, or oh, I've got the night off. Undertaker was like, yeah, bring it on. I'll beat your ass and make you like it. Very rare you ever saw heels act like that. Look at Kurt Angle, cowardly heel. Stone Cold, not initially, but later on became a bit of a cowardly heel. The Rock, I wouldn't say was a cowardly heel, but he was more like, yeah, you face The Rock when I tell you to. So he wasn't really like saying no, but he was like more or less putting it out there like, no, you've got to earn a match to fight The Rock. That was his thing. Triple H, of course, played the cowardly heel as good as anybody I'd have ever seen. And same as Flair. He played it very well. Hulk Hogan did as well, but Undertaker was a different kind of heel. He actually called out people. So that was cool to see. And Flair, for weeks on end, would say, no, I'm not facing you, Undertaker. I have too much respect for you. I'm not a wrestler anymore. I'm an owner. I'm 50-50 in this company. My days in the ring are over. And Undertaker would go on to destroy Arn Anderson, destroy David Flair in the bathroom. I thought that was funny. David Flair on his hands and knees, covered in blood. What are you doing? And Undertaker shouted at him, what am I doing? I'm kicking your ass, that's what I'm doing. I thought it was just absolutely so funny. And what made Undertaker as a heel, he wasn't just an ass kicker, he was quite entertaining as well. Even there were moments where he's not trying to be funny, but it is funny. And that what makes a great heel. He can make you laugh, even though it's not intentional, but he can still do it. And there was another moment I remember, which was the night he challenged Flair to a match for WrestleMania 18. He arrived and he pulled up one of the tech crew. He said, hey, do you know where Ric Flair's office is? And the tech guy's just standing there in fear. Ric Flair, the co-owner, your boss, damn it, where is he? And the guy just pointed to the door and said, there. Was that so hard? God damn! Oh my god, funny stuff. Love it. So, Undertaker and Ric Flair ended up having a no disqualification match at WrestleMania 18, which actually turned out to be really good. It was surprisingly a very good match, considering the fact that Flair was, I think, 54 at the time, and I think Undertaker was like 36, almost 37. And obviously, Undertaker was at least over 20 something years younger than Flair at the time. But I thought the two of them actually ended up having a really good match. Obviously, it wouldn't be the classics like The Undertaker would go on to have much later, but it was still a great match. It was a lot of fun. Arn Anderson got involved, nailing Undertaker with the spine buster, and Flair just got his ass kicked for most of the match. Flair got his, chops in, he got the figure four, a low blow, and a lead pipe, but Undertaker pretty much dominated the whole match. And he went up to 10-0 in his undefeated streak, and that was the first time that the streak was actually addressed on TV. The commentators always said that Undertaker has had a lot of success at WrestleMania, but they never actually said he was undefeated. And it wasn't until really when he beat Flair they really made a point to say that he's 10-0 at WrestleMania. So that was a cool moment. So after WrestleMania 18, we had the first ever draft split. Group of wrestlers went on SmackDown. A group of wrestlers went on Raw. Undertaker was drafted to Raw, and he ended up having one final feud against his longtime rival Stone Cold Steve Austin for the number one contender spot. Winner would face Triple H or Hulk Hogan at Judgment Day. And, you know, just like I said earlier about Undertaker's matches with The Rock, I can say probably the same thing with Undertaker's matches with Stone Cold. I don't think they had great matches. Although I did enjoy A Cold Day in Hell from '97, I thought that was a really good match. SummerSlam '98 was a good match, but a little bit slow in some parts. Their Buried Alive match in that same year, yeah, it was all right. The matches they had in '99 were crap. Uh, I'm just being honest. Um, the No Holds Barred match they had at Judgment Day 2001, I thought it was not bad. I thought it was pretty decent. I don't think it would have been as good if it was a straight one-on-one match. I think it would have been even more worse. But I thought adding no holds barred stipulation made it a bit more watchable. Um, their match at Backlash 2002, which ended up being their final ever match, which we didn't know at the time, obviously, because Stone Cold walked out and obviously he retired at WrestleMania 19 months later. Yeah, I didn't think it was very good. I mean, I love Stone Cold, I love Undertaker, but I think they worked better against other opponents. And this is what I've always said. Sometimes putting two big names in the ring together doesn't always guarantee success. It's just a style thing. Stone Cold was more of a brawler. Undertaker, although he was a brawler, he was a bit more versatile. He could work more on the ground with submission and other different things. So he was quite adaptable depending on the opponents. So he could work a different kind of match depending on who he was working with. But I just don't think Undertaker worked very well with Stone Cold, and that's nothing against either of them. I love both of them, but I just don't think their styles meshed very well together. So, as I said, they had their final match. Undertaker beat Stone Cold, became the number one contender, and he would go on to face Hulk Hogan at Judgment Day and beat him for the undisputed WWE title, which the match itself was terrible. Worst chokeslam ever. And yeah, Hogan just got his ass kicked. I don't like Hulk Hogan. I never have done. I respect Hogan for what he's done for the business, but I was never a Hulk Hogan guy. So I was really pleased Undertaker got the title. And this was the first time Undertaker held a world title since June '99. God, that's nearly almost over 2.5 years. It's ridiculous. So that match itself was crap. Now, Undertaker as the WWE Undisputed Champion. Now, we've always said that Undertaker never really needed a title to be over. That is still true, but I think when he won the title, and obviously the rules stipulated with the draft that the champion can appear on both shows, I think he really helped elevate both shows as the champion. And during that title run, although it was very short, I think it lasted maybe just under 2 months, I think it lasted. May to July. So, yeah, nearly 2 months it lasted. Undertaker did a lot of good stuff during that time, as champion. His match against Triple H at King of the Ring was terrible. I seem to be using this word quite a lot with Taker during this run. Terrible. I think it's probably due to the fact the quality of opponents. I don't think his quality of opponents generated great matches. But anyway, um, yeah, that match was terrible, as I said. But he would quickly redeem himself. He had an excellent ladder match against Jeff Hardy, which elevated Jeff and really put him over. And then a few days later on SmackDown, although it ended in a draw, he had an excellent match against Kurt Angle. And Undertaker as a heel champion was great. It really helped boost his status as a heel. And by this point, he was already going under the name as Red Devil, Big Evil, and had new music as well. And his attire was slightly changed a little bit. So he was wearing more dark grey leather pants, and he would wear a black shirt with the Red Devil logo on it. So yeah, it really helped the character out a lot. And around this time, while he was champion, he would run into someone who would really go on to have his number, and that was Brock Lesnar. And this would kick off a very legendary and personal and bloody feud with Brock Lesnar. So after losing the title to The Rock at Vengeance 2002 in an excellent triple threat match that featured Kurt Angle, which for me was one of the best matches of 2002. Undertaker would pretty much go back to being a babyface, although not in the traditional sense. Test, Christian, and Lance Storm were disrespecting the American flag, and Undertaker took great exception to that, of course. And that pretty much helped him turn face again. Although the fans were already cheering for this guy a lot, you can never ever hate The Undertaker. It's just not humanly possible. But this was the moment that The Undertaker turned face. He would go on to have a match against Test at SummerSlam 2002. It was okay. It wasn't the best match, but it was okay for what it was. And that would be it. He would jump to SmackDown after SummerSlam 2002, and he would go on to have an excellent feud with Brock Lesnar, which culminated in a title match at Unforgiven, which ended in a no contest, and a classic Hell in a Cell match at No Mercy 2002, where Brock Lesnar picked up the win, and Undertaker would take some time off after Big Show dumped him off the stage. So it's quite funny, you look at it, the whole heel turn really did an amazing job in repackaging and refreshing The Undertaker's character, because when I did a video a while back about the success and failures of the American Badass run, I said that although it was a success in terms of freshening up The Undertaker, I did say that it wasn't off to the best of starts. But I think with him turning heel, cutting his hair off, losing the excess weight, getting himself back in shape, I think really made the difference. And I think in some ways, I would probably say the Red Devil Big Evil gimmick really saved his career and added a few more years. Because, as I said, as much as I didn't like the biker, I did like the Red Devil Big Evil stuff. I thought that was the highlight of the biker gimmick. It was really good. I really enjoyed that stuff a lot. And I think to this day, I think that was some of his best work he'd ever done as a heel. It was different. It was a different kind of heel to what he was in the ministry, but I still liked it. It was good stuff. So we would see The Undertaker make his return, entering at number 30 at the Royal Rumble 2003 pay per view during the Rumble match, where he was eliminated by Brock Lesnar. Oh my god. Every turn, every single time. And then Undertaker would go on to have a feud against the Big Show, who put him on the shelf for a few months after No Mercy 2002. And this culminated in their first ever singles match on pay per view, which is quite shocking, really, because Undertaker and Big Show have had thousands of matches for almost 4 years by that point, but never faced on pay per view. Strange days, really strange. And it was not a bad match. I think it was one of the better Undertaker versus Big Show matches compared to the earlier ones. And we would see Undertaker face the Big Show again at WrestleMania 19, this time with A Train as his partner in a handicap match. Undertaker would get the win, bringing his streak to 11 and 0 thanks to Nathan Jones. And then Undertaker would get taken out by the FBI and he was out for a few months and then he would return and come to Brock Lesnar's rescue and we would see Undertaker get into a feud with John Cena, which really helped elevate Cena as one of the hot prospects on SmackDown. And this led to a really good match at Vengeance 2003. And Undertaker would go on to face the A Train at SummerSlam 2003, which was crap. No offense to Undertaker, but A Train's not the best opponent, in my opinion. And Undertaker would have another great match against Kurt Angle on SmackDown. See, this is why Undertaker should be facing these sort of opponents. Why didn't he face Angle more? Or Eddie or Benoit? You know, those sort of guys. Why does he keep facing these useless big men? You know, it's just ridiculous. And this would lead to Undertaker facing Brock Lesnar again at No Mercy 2003 in a biker chain match where Undertaker lost thanks to Vince McMahon. And this culminated in a Buried Alive match at Survivor Series 2003 after many months of tension, trading words, and basically getting in each other's faces. And of course, that was built up from Undertaker's line about if he was part of Vince McMahon's family, he would have beaten the boss to a bloody pulp, thanks to the way he treated Stephanie McMahon. And the Buried Alive match that Undertaker had against Vince McMahon at Survivor Series 2003, it wasn't a classic wrestling match. It was never intended to be. This was just Vince McMahon getting his ass handed to him. And it wasn't a great match. But I don't look at it as, oh, it was a 5-star match because that's not what it was meant to be. But I still really liked it. It was really good. And around this time, as much as I enjoyed the Red Devil, Big Evil stuff, it was great. I loved all of that stuff. The biker gimmick itself was really starting to get stale now after nearly, what, 3.5 years of being the biker. I was ready for the dead man to come back. And Undertaker, of course, lost the Buried Alive match thanks to a shocking assist from Kane, who was a Raw wrestler at the time. And Vince McMahon got the win, which I just thought was absolutely stupid. Personally, I think what should have happened is Undertaker wins the Buried Alive match, finally gets the victory over Vince McMahon, and he could still get buried alive after. I mean, it happened in the first one. He buried Mankind, but he still ended up getting buried alive anyway. Maybe that should have happened instead. But I think, looking back, I suppose it worked out for the best. And once Undertaker was buried alive, that pretty much brought the Red Devil Big Evil era to a close, and Undertaker would return as the Dead Man at WrestleMania 20, and we pretty much wouldn't see the biker again until his final match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36. And it's kind of interesting because the biker gimmick, if you put the whole thing together, lasted just 3.5 years. And I would never have expected Undertaker to bring it back again, let alone retire in that persona. I always thought he would retire as the dead man. So, although that biker gimmick, that Undertaker retired and was a bit of everything. It was more the biker. And, you know, it's interesting because with the biker gimmick, I was never a big fan of it, but I really did like the Red Devil slash Big Evil run. That to me, as far as the biker gimmick itself, was my favourite period of that run because he just completely changed everything about himself. And yeah, he just became like a completely different person for the better. And it really worked as well. So, in terms of the success and failures of the Undertaker Red Devil slash Big Evil run, I am going to say it was a complete success. It really was. He turned heel, beat up JR, won the hardcore title, and won the undisputed WWE title. Had some great matches against Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar as well. A very entertaining match against Ric Flair. A pretty solid match against The Rock. Yeah, there were a few clunkers along the way, but I would say by and large, the whole run was really good. He had a very entertaining feud with John Cena, which culminated in an excellent match at Vengeance 2003. But yes, I would say it was a complete success, and having the biker gimmick gets buried alive was very fitting. I thought that was the best way to do it. It made perfect sense, and I think that length of time was good enough. I don't think I would have liked to have seen the biker gimmick go on for another 2 more years, probably. I know Undertaker has gone on record to say he enjoyed it. It allowed him to be himself more, work a different kind of match, be a bit more versatile on the mic. I completely agree, and I completely respect that. But as I said earlier, I was ready to see the dead man back. But yes, I would go on to say that the Red Devil Big Evil run was a complete success. And I've often looked at the whole thing as two different runs. The Hill run, which was Red Devil, lasted from November 2001 to October 2002. And the Big Evil run, I look at that as it started at January 2003 and finished in November 2003. So I've often looked at it as two different runs. It's the same persona, but just different names and different runs. That's the way I've always looked at it. Red Devil was the heel, Big Evil was more like the anti face. But under wrestling rules, we'll say it was a baby face. But I looked at it as more like an anti face. Even though the two periods are one and the same, but I've always looked at it as two different periods, in my opinion. But yes, the whole thing itself, a complete success. Absolutely enjoyed it. Nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. Promo wise, on point. Look, on point. Match quality, up and down. But I would say when he went to SmackDown, it went straight up. Definitely went straight up. When he was on Raw, not so much. But I did like the match against Jeff Hardy, and he had a great match against Rob Van Dam as well. I thought they were both pretty good. But yeah, the rest of it, not so much. But the SmackDown run more than made up for it, in my opinion. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on Undertaker's Red Devil slash Big Evil run from 2001 to 2003? Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite moments from that run? Did you like it when he won the hardcore title? Did you like it when he won the WWE Undisputed title? What was your favourite feud from that run? Was it against Brock Lesnar, Ric Flair, The Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena? And what was your favourite match from that run? Did you enjoy Undertaker's heel run from November 2001 to July 2002? Did you enjoy Undertaker's babyface run from August 2002 to November 2003? And which one do you think the biker worked better under, as a face or as a heel? And do you think the Red Devil slash Big Evil run was a success or a failure? You know what to do, guys. hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.